Chapter number 3. The Need of a Parliament. During the colonial rule, neither the people had any say in the functioning of the government, nor could they criticize the policies of the government. Nevertheless, once India attained independence, the leaders of the freedom movement were convinced that people should be able to participate in decision-making process. Therefore, all adult citizens were given the right to vote, universal adult franchise. The participation of the people is very critical for proper functioning of democracy, as that is, democracy means government of the people, by the people, and for the people. To form the parliament, people chose their representatives who take decisions regarding growth and well-being of the country on their behalf. In this way, the people indirectly control and guide the government. Since the government is answerable to the people, it has to run its office responsibly. Moreover, universal adult franchise talks about political equality, which is central to the notion of democracy. Thus, Parliament is a congregation of elected representatives. It makes laws and exercises political authority on behalf of the people. It is the supreme law-making body of our country and the most important symbol of Indian democracy. This institution is a medium for expressing the needs of the ordinary citizens, apprehensions and expectations. Parliament. Indian Parliament or Sansad is the manifestation of the faith that Indians have in the values of democracy, that is, involvement of the people in decision-making and the government. The President and the two houses of Parliament, that is, bicameral legislature, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha together form the Union Legislature. As per the provision given in the Constitution, the Union government exercises power over the whole country. In this form of government, the President is the nominal head of the state, while Prime Minister is the actual head of the government. The President, elected by members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, along with members of legislative assemblies, tenure is 5 years, but can be re-elected for a second term. Ceremonial head of the state represents India at international forums and Supreme Commander of Armed Forces. Appoints Prime Minister, Governors of States, Attorney General, Chiefs of Armed Forces and Judges of Supreme and High Courts. Addresses joint sittings of Parliament and can also issue ordinances when Parliament is not in session. Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha or upper house represents the states, which have seats in proportion to their population. It is a permanent house. However, after every 2 years, the tenure of 1/3 of its members ends. So, every member has a term of 6 years. The Rajya Sabha can have up to 250 members, but the present strength is 245. Out of 245, 233 represent the states and the union territories, while 12 members nominated by the President are eminent personalities representing various fields. In the absence of the ex officio chairman of the House, that is, the Vice President, the Deputy Chairman, who is chosen by members of Rajya Sabha, presides over the meeting. Rajya Sabha members are called Members of Parliament or MPs. The Vice President, elected by members of both the Houses of Parliament. holds office for a period of 5 years, presides over Rajya Sabha as ex officio chairman, takes over as president in case the office of president falls vacant due to death, resignation, illness, or any other reason. Lok Sabha. The Lok Sabha or lower house comprises members who are directly chosen by the people based on universal adult franchise. For the purpose of election, the country is divided into several constituencies. Each constituency elects one representative, MP or Member of Parliament, among various political parties that represent the constituency in the Parliament. At present, Lok Sabha has 545 members, out of which 530 members are elected from the states and 13 are elected from the union territories. The President of India can nominate 2 members from the Anglo-Indian community if he feels that the community is insufficiently represented. Members of Lok Sabha are elected for a period of 5 years. However, the President can dissolve the House before the completion of its tenure if the ruling party loses majority. On the other hand, in times of emergency, its tenure can be extended for a year. Once the election results are declared, the Parliament has to carry out the following functions. Functions of the Parliament. A. Selecting the national government. Once the election results are out, the party that wins a majority of seats is invited by the President to form a government. To form a government, the party should have at least half, that is, 272 members or more. If no party gets a clear majority, then 2 or more political parties with similar objective can come together to form a coalition government. Political parties other than the ruling party in the Parliament are called opposition parties. The executive is responsible for implementing the laws made by the Parliament. One of the most important functions of Lok Sabha is the selection of executive. The ruling party chooses a Prime Minister who is the real head of the state. He or she appoints ministers, coordinates the work of various departments and advises the President on important matters. The Prime Minister, head of the State and Council of Ministers, appointed by the President, holds office for a period of 5 years, provided has majority in the Parliament, chairperson of the Planning Commission, advises President on all important matters, including appointment of judges, Chief Election Commissioner, etc., allocates portfolios and coordinates the work of ministers, cabinet ministers, ministers of state, deputy ministers. Prime Minister appoints ministers who are in charge of different departments and implement the decisions of the government. There are 3 categories of ministers. Cabinet ministers, the core of the executive, hold important portfolios like defense, home, finance, foreign affairs, etc. Ministers of state either hold an independent portfolio or work under cabinet ministers and deputy ministers who support the ministers of state and cabinet ministers. The Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers are jointly responsible for the decisions taken. This is known as collective responsibility. The members also choose a presiding officer, Speaker, who conducts out the proceedings as well as maintains order in the House. In his absence, the Deputy Speaker presides over the proceedings in the House. B. Controlling, guiding, and informing the government. One of the main aspects of parliamentary democracy is that the executive is answerable to the legislature. The government has to give an account of its policies and expenses in accord to the parliament. The opposition plays a crucial role in the system by eliciting essential information about the functioning of the government and highlighting flaws in the policies and programs of the government. Question hour and 0 hour are the two times during the day when relevant information can be sought from the government. Question hour is the first hour of every sitting, when the ministers answer questions related to the operation of their respective departments. 0 hour starts immediately after the question hour. During this hour, discussions over matters of public interest are held. Thus, MPs are representatives of the people, play a key role in controlling and directing the government for making various policies and updating the people about the actions of the government. Besides, the parliament also has the power to remove president, vice president and judges of supreme and high courts if they violate the constitution or misuse their power. C. Control on government finance. The parliament manages the finance of the country. Every year, the finance minister presents the budget before the parliament that explains in detail the intended expenses and probable returns. Besides, the government tables before the parliament all proposals of new tax laws, which are an important source of earning for the government. Laws made by the central and laws made by the states. The central list. Subjects on which laws can be made only by the parliament. These laws apply to the whole country. For example, any law relating to defense, money and banking, telephone and postal system can only be made by the parliament. The state list. Subjects on which laws can be made only by state legislative assemblies. Different states can have different laws or any of these subjects. For example, sales tax, the construction and maintenance of all roads other than national highways, agriculture, irrigation, police and healthcare. The concurrent list. Subjects on which laws can be made by both Parliament and state legislative assemblies. For example, education, laws relating to factories or industries, electricity, labor, etc. When both Parliament and a state legislative assembly make a law on a subject and these laws contradict each other, the law made by the Parliament takes precedence over the law made by the state legislative assembly. D. Lawmaking. As per the Constitution, the Centre can make laws on 97 subjects given in the Union list such as railways, banking and currency, telephone, foreign affairs, etc., as well as on the residuary subjects not found in any other bill. It also has the authority to amend the Constitution, but in matters affecting the state, it has to be endorsed by the state too. In case of national emergency or in case of breakdown of state machinery or if the matter is of national importance, the Parliament can make laws on the subjects given in the state list. The Parliament can also formulate laws on the 47 subjects given in the concurrent list, such as electricity, marriage, medical issues, etc. We will read more about this significant function of the Parliament in the next chapter. People in Parliament. Nowadays, More and more people from diverse backgrounds are actively participating in the functioning of the government. Regional parties have come into prominence and are playing a crucial role in the decision-making process and influencing the policies made by the center. People who were till now unrepresented are getting elected to the parliament. The underprivileged sections of society and the minority communities are also coming out and actively participating in the political process. To ensure that historically marginalized societies are better represented, certain percentage of seats are reversed for them in the parliament. MPs elected from such constituencies have a better understanding of the problems at the grassroots level, and so they can influence the government to frame policies that will eventually benefit their region. Similarly, there have also been debates for reservation of seats for women. 60 years ago, there were only 4% women MPs that has now grown to only 9%. This increase is almost insignificant, considering the fact that women constitute almost 50% of the population.